Ciao mondo, hello world, hola mundo, hello mon. We're here today taking a cappuccino in Orlando, Florida with Frank van der Sande and Peter Kotanko, the organizers of the interesting RRI meeting 2018. So I immediately start asking Peter about the highlights of the Congress of this year.
Well, actually, it's really hard to say what are the highlights because there were quite a few of them. I mean, when I look through throughout the whole program, there were interesting debate about the treatment of RPGN in the elderly. There was a keynote lecture about the climate change and its impact on health outcomes. For example, there was a keynote lecture on the new physiology of sodium. Really important. We had discussions ranging from electrolyte metabolism, magnesium, for example, to really hands-on, practically applicable topics. For example, discussion of PD, look into the crystal ball, but also an osteoporosis in dialysis patients. It's really difficult for me to pick one specific topic.
I will pick it for you. So how would you summarize the lecture on climate changes and impact on the kidney?
Yeah, okay. So that's actually a good question. So first, climate change is real. This was one important message. Second, there is really accumulating evidence that climate change, in particular heat waves, are affecting kidney health. And for example, that the Mesoamerican nephropathy is seen by some as a consequence already of this heat accumulation and increased heat in Central America. We are doing a study with Boston University on the effect of heat waves on outcomes in dialysis patients. And we clearly see when we studied 3 cities, Boston, New York and Philadelphia, that certain physiological parameters such as blood pressure, intra weight gain change in response to heat waves. So I think that's a largely unexplored area in the kidney community. There is some data that, for example, acute kidney injury increases following heat waves. But something that's really important and I think should be a focus of future.
Very, very interesting. And Frank, how would you summarize the interesting lecture of sodium in the tissues? This morning was fantastic lecture.
Yeah, it was a really, Jens is of course a very dedicated speaker. He knows everything about sodium, and I think he shifted gear from the kidney to the skin. And it was a little bit provocative, but that is wonderful. You made it provocative that we should change as nephrologists more to the skin.
Endocrinology.
Yeah, or neurology or immunology, and not focusing only on the kidney. There's more than the kidney.
I think that the interesting thing was the concept of the trapping of sodium in the skin, and how this can be partially affected also by the function of the immunocells. How can this be affecting hypertension and vascular disease and so on? I think that these are 2 beautiful, interesting topics that highlighted this conference. On my side, I can say I wrote the results of our study on renal functional reserve as a predictor for acute kidney injury in patients undergoing cardiac surgery. And I think that this was also an interesting highlight of the Congress. In general, we may say that this conference always brings new information, and I invite everyone to participate in the future editions of this conference, because where will be next year?
Well, next year will start mid-January, I think January 16th, and will take place in New Orleans. And we're already thinking about the program, so we may have actually one session dedicated to microcirculation and the importance of microcirculation in CKD patients. And there are already quite a few other program suggestions. So yeah, everybody is welcome, and go to the RRI website renalresearch.com, and you will find information about the 2019 conference.
And I think especially for young nephrologists, you can learn in 3 days the whole area of clinical nephrology, from acidosis, from osteoporosis, from blood pressure. And you have the possibility to speak after the presentations with the presenters themselves. It is a more one-to-one situation. So for the young colleagues, this is one of in my opinion, one of the better congresses that is to visit to.
And I have a particular affection to this meeting because I was one of the predecessors of Peter being director of the renal lab of the RRI in New York many years ago now, because it was almost 20 years ago. But nevertheless, we kept our fantastic relationship, and research is going on, and sometimes we actually interact with common projects.
Absolutely.
So with this, thank you very much for joining today, Cappuccino. And I invite you all to follow the whole series of Cappuccino by now. Thank you very much. Excellent.
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 Excellent. Have a wonderful day.